We, we're really live. I wanted to do this because I don't think I've done the last two Saturdays as far as posting anything for live on the channel, and there's so much news going on and happening at the same time that I have the move going on. I had to move. I was down here last evening for the sunset, and gosh, it was beautiful because there were quite a few waves and the sun was like sort of behind clouds a little bit. And just beautiful. I mean, if you see this beach here, this is where I'm living right now. Really blessed. And behind the umbrella in one of the high rises there, I just got this awesome little chair off Amazon. So I'm a little bit late because it takes like 10 minutes to set up. But it's very practical, weighs around 2 pounds, and man, beach chairs are getting so expensive, and they come with so many attachments on them, and they're so heavy, so you don't want to be carrying that. I mean, they're nice when you get them on the sand and you're on the beach, but carrying them back and forth, that wasn't my cup of tea. So I thought, let's see with the reviews what people are going for as far as light. This is actually like a camping type chair. The thing that's nice about it is that it has these feet on there that when you're in, and this is really soft sand, you can see there, this is like super soft. And if you had a regular beach chair, it would just like sink right down in there. But this thing, if I can get up on here, I'll show you the brand name here. It's called Rock Cloud, okay? And it comes in this tiny little carry thing. And as you can see, it's just a chair, there's not much more to it than that. So it feels like you're falling back sometimes, but it'll hold up to like 250 pounds. That's what it says. So I'm happy. I just put the umbrella up, and I see that because of my shadow here, I'm gonna have to move pretty soon because I'm already in the sunlight. The sun's coming up, and it's another beautiful day in Naples, Florida. How have you been this week, huh? Since I'm doing this live from my phone, I don't have, that looks like a hat, doesn't it? I don't have the video chat, at least I don't know how to enable it, so, which is okay, because it's not like I have like a million viewers anyway, right? But when the day comes, and I do, I'll be ready for you, all right? The moon is right up there, look at this. I don't know if you can see it or not, right there in the center of the screen. Wow, behind you there. It's hard to see, right? I set the alarm clock at like 2:20 this morning because I wanted to wake up and watch the Crew Dragon splash down on, in the Gulf of Mexico. Now that was, excuse me. This is the Gulf of Mexico, but we're like we're about as far south as you can get on the Gulf. And they splashed down near Pensacola, so that's like way up there near. It's not even Florida, really. No, just kidding. It is Florida, but it's where the peninsula goes. Goes way out toward Alabama. So everything was perfect. It just makes me wonder about these guys put so much testing and stuff into what they're doing, and when it comes time to do it, it's like flawless. And I love to see that. I love to see systems being used. I love automation. I love all that stuff. I love technology. And the reason I love all this stuff is because it really helps speed up things in our lives. If your life is so slow that you don't need stuff like technology or automation, that's cool too. But for me, I want to enjoy life and do things like this. So in the background, other things that I'm doing, I either have it automated or, it's set up in such a way that I really don't have to worry about it that much. So it's a delight. I learned about that probably in the last 2 years, getting automation, getting virtual assistants, getting people to help you, and stuff that maybe you're like one of these control freaks and you want to have your hand in everything, but that can't be scaled, which means you can't really grow that fast, if you want to try to create like a cookie business or some kind of business that you're doing. If you try to do everything yourself, you're only going to be so big, but if you like start giving parts of your business to other people that can do it just as well or even better than you can do it, then your business has the ability to grow because you start working more on the business part and less in the business, messing around with the technical parts of it. Just a tip there, right? So got a big week coming up. Today, I'm just going to be down here for this video and then probably go back up to the house and maybe try to clean up from yesterday's move a little bit, not too much though. And today I want to take the day of just relaxing and sort of be in gratitude because tomorrow I have outpatient. It's like coffee, right? Actually, I already had a little bit of coffee, but it was some really bad Javalia out of a Keurig machine, so, ugh. Anyway, yeah, and I want to be like as healthy as I can for that ERCP. Yesterday I was doing a day fast, but I didn't make it all the way through the day just because I didn't want to. The move was a big deal, and it was sort of a big climax, that we had moved from the home we were at to, the high rise here. And I really wanted to kind of celebrate that, so I had some of my keto coffee, which you guys know about, and also some cheese. The keto coffee, if you don't know about it, not everybody, I can't assume, right, is where I put 6 tablespoons full of heavy whipping cream and 2 tablespoons full of MCT oil into, blend that with one of those little mixers, coffee frothers, and put that into a coffee cup, and it's just, oh man, it's beyond excellent. And also, I use, what do you call it, cinnamon, couldn't think of the word, and put that in there too. It works really well, and for taste, so yeah, nothing like it. And also, it's like pure fat, it's good energy. And then I had a piece of my triple cream cheese, the brie that I love so much, on that. I'm really anxious, so I have not had any reports back from anyone, the places I've gone in the last few weeks, about how big or small or spreading or not this tumor is. So the only thing I heard was when the doctor doing the biopsy was talking to somebody else in that biopsy room. She said something about it, oh, well, it's small, or something like that. So I heard, well, small, that's good. Maybe it's shrunk. It was 6 centimeters long, which is about, I don't know, a little smaller than an iPhone. So it wasn't too bad, but you don't want anything like that in you. And the way my nurse at the Moffitt Cancer Center up in Tampa explained it, it sounded like whatever's going on there has really, really compromised the gallbladder. So I don't know if I have a working gallbladder anymore. And some of the documentation that I've read, that is, i.e., books, have said that, if you have a compromised liver or gallbladder, or like elevated numbers, which means when you do a blood test, your, I guess, protein levels or whatever numbers, I guess they work on amino acids. I don't know, I'm not sure where these numbers come from, but these base numbers where a good liver is 2.0, good liver reading is 13.3 or whatever. Mine were elevated, right? And then the gallbladder, of course, we know there's stuff going on there with me anyway. So immediately when I read that, I thought, wow, that takes me right out of the running for this therapeutic ketosis. But I'm doing it anyway, and the reason why is because I use the Keto Mojo, which is a meter, it's a blood meter that works with your glucose and your ketones at the same time. It uses two different strips. So you take one prick, and get some blood. And I tend to do my ketones first because I want to see if I have good ketones going around, If I know that I'm like 2.5 or above, or 2.2 and above, it's going to be okay. Even though my glucose was kind of high for me this morning, it was like 108, I think. So my GKI this morning, or my glucose ketone index is what it's called, and I want to stay below a 3, right, was 2.4. It was kind of high, but not out of the index, so I'm still in a deep state of therapeutic ketosis, which is very good for what I want to do. There are several books on the market that if you have cancer and you want to use ketosis to help you, there is one called Keto Cancer. It's the one I'm reading right now. And, I read so many of these books. I really need to jot down the authors' names for you guys, because it helps, when you go to try to find the book. Fighting Cancer with Keto. There's a lot that have the words keto and cancer in it, in the same, in the title. So if you have cancer and you just stumbled upon me, or you stumbled upon something else, and you really want to fight the cancer using keto, these are the books that you want to read, because they go so much more in detail. We say that, it's kind of weird, because you have videos, there's so many videos on YouTube about how keto has really helped people that are suffering from cancer. It's like starved cancer cells, it's like shrunk cancers, it's like put people into remission, and so there's so much good news out there, and good science, by the way, too. So there's no excuse for not getting this information. The thing is, when you do a video, there's just so much information coming at you at once. And when you have a book, you can kind of read that same paragraph 4 times to really get it, right? And so I think sometimes that's why we say that there is more information in the book, or I got more out of the book. Because in a book, you're able to go at the pace of your mind, like you're reading The Hunt for the Red October or something like that. Why was the book better than the movie? Well, for one thing, the explanation in the book might have been better than what your mind could perceive from seeing the visual, right? Like you didn't notice that the panel over to the left in the sub was lighting up blue, but in the book it'll say that, and you'll go, oh well, man, what's going to happen next, But sometimes we, because of visual, we don't perceive. But I do like visual a lot more than I do reading. but I do read. I'll read off this phone because I don't have a. In fact, I should buy one for all these books I have. I don't have a Kindle. Kindles. I want a Kindle that's as big as a book, not as thick, but the page is as big as a book page, at least a paperback page. I've seen some Kindles that are like, they're pretty small, and I mean, I can read that off my phone. If you tip it horizontally, we got the same sort of font and stuff going on, so why bother buying another electronic device? But there's so much that I'm reading, trying to take in. One thing that I did start doing, and you might want to try this too, is get a yellow notepad and a pen, preferably blue, and go through these videos that you find on YouTube, like from Low Carb Down Under. There are a lot of good speakers there. And as you're going through the video, take notes and start learning some of these precepts about low carb, high fat, and what it does to your body as far as producing ketones and how that can affect your lifestyle with cancer. So, yeah, it's the big C word, but I mean, we do have this this ammunition, and it's not for every single cancer. You'll have the conventional people go, well, that's, I've heard of that, but it's not for all cancers. Well, it's for like 98% of the cancers, okay? So probably what you have is covered under what keto can do as far as helping you. So that part you can worry about when you start doing the diet, okay? Look it up, and they'll say, especially the books say, here's the cancers that really, this diet doesn't help that much with. But for the most part, and I probably, I hear a jet going overhead. You'll find that this is perfect for what you have. Now, for what I have, tumor and keto, they just don't mix, because what keto does is it starts using fats as fuel, ketones as fuel in your body, and the basic part of it, and as you know on this YouTube channel, I just give you the basics. I just come at you with basic information because, there is science. There's somebody going by on a paddleboard. This is cool. There is science, right, behind all this. And I'll tell you that, yeah, there's the science. But a lot of times you won't remember the science, whereas you will remember if I tell you this is what happens, right? So what I want to tell you is that your body gets into what's called ketosis, and that's where you switch from using carbs that turn into glucose, and glucose feeds the body as fuel and your brain as fuel. You know that if you've heard anything or done any research or studies at all about the brain, that the brain uses almost all the time glucose to feed and use it as fuel, and probably one of the biggest uses of glucose in the body, I guess the biggest, is the brain. I mean, you're thinking, you're doing stuff. Even when you're sleeping, your brain is active, working on keeping your body as healthy as it possibly can. So it uses a lot of energy all the time. And it uses glucose. But the brain can also, the heart can, all your muscles in every cell in your body can use ketones as well. So when your body gets into ketosis, that means when it switches from using the carbs that turn into glucose, it starts using fats as fuel, which is super efficient. Body loves it. You feel better. You stay satisfied longer. I see my daughter eating these junk foods. She's 20, eats chips, eats tacos, eats, all the stuff. And I tell her that, if you ate stuff that had more natural animal fats in it, you wouldn't be like eating every 2 or 3 hours, and ordering stuff to eat, like pizzas and stuff. Because why? Because using that as fuel, it burns longer, burns more efficiently, and it's more satiating. Is that what you say? It satisfies longer. There you go. That's simple, right? So you want something like that, don't you? Come on. And plus, those cancer cells in your body have receptors for glucose. So that a lot of times when you go to these scans that are done to do your, excuse me, I just got a whiff of air and inhaled it, and it was the little bit of red tide. Red tide is when there's a little algae in the water from the. What we do is we use so many chemicals on our plants and grasses and stuff and fertilizers. And when it rains here, it runs off and gets into the ocean a little bit. That makes algae happy because they go, man, fertilizers, and so you get this algae bloom. But it's a type of algae that is irritating to the throat, and sometimes that happens when you get a whiff. Sometimes it's really bad. You can't come down here to the ocean, but here I just got a little bit of it, so we're not doing too bad. So back to the ketones, there is no receptor, there's no receptacle on the cell of a tumor for ketones. So this cell is going nuts inside there because you're no longer feeding the body any sugars or any carbs. So I'm on like a zero sugar, zero carb diet. I don't know, I don't think that wind is bothering you because I'm using the headset and I see the microphone's right down here, so hopefully not. I'll put my hand up here because it's getting a little windy, which is really nice. Really nice. So, getting into ketosis, where your body's going, yeah, this is like super good. You feel better, you feel great, and your body's getting fed by this super energy, right? The energies that a long time ago, that's what we ate. We didn't eat these processed foods that we eat now. Things that are super processed, like potato chips, I mean, come on, or a taco, right? Something that's made from probably genetically modified corn, and then it's probably fried in some kind of seed oil, which goes rancid really fast, and it's really bad for your body. It's hard to digest this seed oils like soybean oil. We used to think those things were good, but we found out that they're not. They're really hard for anything to digest. So, it's so much better to eat off the fat of the land, which I mean is, animal fats. I It was such an incredible radical change for me because on March 12th, I got a stent put in me because this tumor was like wrapped around my bile duct so bad that it was causing the bile duct to dilate 2 centimeters, which is pretty big. And there's hardly anything coming out of my bile duct. It was all going out through my urine and not coming out through my skin, but causing me to become jaundiced, making my skin itch horribly. Finally, when I got the stent in, it relieved some of that, by pushing the tumor out of the way and allowing the bile to flow. Now, with this new stent that I'm getting tomorrow, hopefully it will be even clearer and cleaner than this one is. I guess they clog up a little bit. I didn't know this part until I went up to Moffitt Cancer Center and said, oh yeah, you got to get that thing replaced every 6 weeks. So it's been a few months now, so this will be good, I'm sure. As long as I go in there and don't feel anything, that's all. Yeah, that's all I care about is just get the thing replaced, guys. So, that's what's supposed to happen naturally when you eat fats and stuff. The bile comes out of your liver. The gallbladder serves as a holding place for more bile, and then it excretes it slowly into the intestine where that breaks down fat. And when that breaks down fat, then that's how you enjoy the fat, feed your body. Um, so when I read this stuff in the book that was saying, that if you have a compromised liver, if your liver enzymes, that's probably what it is, yeah, are high. I told you it was something simple, right? That you shouldn't be on this diet, or if your gallbladder's compromised, you shouldn't be on this diet. And I'm going, man, but I want to be on this diet. And according to my Keto Mojo device, my blood device, where I prick my finger, usually my thumb, and sometimes my finger though, depends. Sometimes you hit a nerve, with that needle, and that hurts for a while. But I'm no baby, so just keep going with the flow. And I find out that my GKI, my glucose ketone index, is low, right? That means that it is working. Somehow the bile in my body is working to break down the fat. Fat is turning into ketones. There's ketones going on in my body, and it's not because I'm feeding my body any ketones, all right? So something that I'm eating is changing into ketones. And what it is, like I said before, that radical change on March 12th, I had the stent put in. On March 13th, wide awake and searching on Google to find out, how can we change this? How can we make this different or better? I stumbled across, it's interesting how this happened, because I was kind of following Jordan Peterson, the philosopher guy, a Canadian, on YouTube for a while. And it's like listening to, it's hard to listen to this guy, his whole debate with somebody or whole interview with somebody, but you can watch, it's fascinating to watch like half an hour of it or 45 minutes or whatever. He's like a fascinating guy. He has these answers that I don't know where he comes up with. Then you go, yeah, this guy's right, So I was like Googling him, or not Googling him, I was Googling this diet, or not diet, it wasn't even diet, I just wanted to find out tumors, bile ducts, what do you do in this case? And because when you use Google, some of your old search results come up. So it was like Jordan Peterson and diet, and I'm going, what is this about? And he talked about his daughter having all these issues. Michaela, I think is her name. And she had like horrifying issues since her birth. She had like severe arthritis and had ankle replacement, knee replacements, I don't know if she did a hip replacement, but all these joints of hers were just like wearing out when she was a kid. So she had like bad stuff going on. They tried so many medications. And then what they did, I don't know, I guess it was the family did, because she was still a child, I think, anyway. Maybe she was grown up enough to participate in it. But they started like eliminating stuff from her diet. They take out bread, they take out eggs, and they kept going. Still has this crappy feeling all day, So it was thing after thing, and finally the only thing that they found that she did really well on and had no reaction to was meat. Can you believe that? Just meat and salt. And that was it. That was her diet. It was like meat and salt and something to drink. No veggies, no starches, no fruits, no fiber. And until this day, that's all she does. She's a huge carnivore. And she looks great. And this is what saved her life. And then Jordan himself had to go. He got really sick from something. It was, I believe, dietary related, because it might not have been related to diet, but the diet like cured him, made him better. He is doing almost the same thing. He's almost on a pure carnivore diet. So I had been on before I'd been diagnosed with a tumor. I'd been on carnivore diet. I'd done carnivore for almost a year because I had this horrible pain in both shoulders that I thought I was going to have to get surgery done on the shoulders. And I ran into Dr. Baker on Twitter, and Dr. Baker said, try the carnivore diet. I said, don't we need like fibers and stuff though? I mean, it's not what we're supposed to be eating that too. And he said, just try it for a week and then come back and tell me how you feel. So this Dr. Sean Baker, you can find him on Twitter and on anything. He's everywhere now. But he, after a week I came back and said, man, I don't know what voodoo you guys are doing with this meat, but both shoulders, I mean, now I can sleep at night. I couldn't even lay down on my side. It's just the pain was so bad. And it totally went away in 1 week. So I became a carnivore, and that's all I ate. Ate a big old hunk of meat around 2 in the afternoon. That was my meal for the day. My problem was that I washed a lot of that down with lots of alcohol, mainly wine. And of course that wasn't doing too much good to my liver or my poor little gallbladder. So I'm not sure if that's what caused this and then eventually cancer, but I'm sure it wasn't good. I'm sure it played a part in it, right? So I found this diet that the Petersons had gotten into, and as I was looking at the diets and stuff, somehow on Google, you know how Google is, like I said, it started talking about keto, ketogenesis, ketogenic, and tumors. You know how there was this one video was talking about, or one article, one of these published government articles was talking about the, here she goes back again, how they've had these women go on a ketogenic diet and how their breast cancer like shrunk to like, way down, like almost disappeared. And I go, man, that's what I want. I want my tumor to disappear. So I started reading more about, okay, what is keto? I found out what keto was, low carb, high fat. And then I found out through a book, which I'll pass along to you later underneath this, in the description when we're done here, about the therapeutic keto, which is totally different. My son David goes, I think I may join you on this ketogenic diet, and Rachel too, my daughter, I mean, even though she eats junk still, because it tastes so good, I guess, to her. So I'll join you on this thing, but I'm not going to eat that the way you do. And I said, no, you don't have to. I'm like on therapeutic, which is like zero carbs and zero sugar. For you, you can do some carbs, would stay away from the sugars because, that's what's making you fat. But I would certainly, do the diet, at least the ketogenic diet is very good. When you get into ketosis, I mean, things start moving, start seeing the weight come off, and it's just very rewarding. So it is worth doing. Now, I went radical on the 14th of March. No more carbs, and I loved carbs. I like making my beans and rice. I was raised in Brazil. Beans and rice and pork, in there, and hot sauce, and I can still eat that, but all this carb would turn into sugars. Sugars are going to feed that tumor in there. That's what we don't want, right? We know that these cancerous tumors, or tumors of any kind, they like glucose probably more than the brain does. They just thrive so much on glucose. So we don't want to feed them any glucose. And that's what happens when you eat lots of carbs like that, even though it's very satisfying, not long term, because if you eat beans and rice, usually a couple hours later you want another couple helpings, that's the way I am. Or same thing with cereal, if you eat cereal in the morning or at night, not so much because you're going to go to sleep, but in the morning you eat that, and then it's like, around 10 o'clock you're hungry again, you're looking for a Pop-Tart or something, it's like, man, where's the food? Whereas if you eat bacon and eggs in the morning with lots of fat, man, you're satisfied till like 1 in the afternoon or even longer. Um, so yeah, I went radical. I followed exactly. Actually, what happened was because of the internet, I'm so happy we have technology. I'm just happy, happy, happy. I found this person's website. Her name is, I think it's Marsha. And her website is Cancer V, the letter V. I'm not sure why she has this. Maybe because somebody else had cancer. But Cancer V, like Cancer Victor, .me. She got the ME extension instead of .com. It's .me, like me. So I went on her website, and she has the best website. I wish I could create something like this. Maybe I'll try this month since I have time now here in the condo to like modify my website and make it, because it was so helpful for me. You know, it's like, okay, now that you've been diagnosed, what's the next step? And then she goes through how you have to measure. This is so important, guys. In anything that we do, you have to measure what you're doing, or you're not going to know. You know, I mean, you can go out and look at labels and buy food like that and just eat until you're satisfied. And a lot of people on the ketogenic diet, that's what they do. They'll go out and buy keto foods and eat those until they're full, you know. But I can't, I don't have that luxury, because I have to make sure that I'm getting enough fats in, make sure that my protein level doesn't go too far, because on this diet I don't want too much protein. What happens with protein, if I go too far on my proteins, it actually, when the liver senses that there's too much protein in the body, it goes, I have too much protein, I don't need this too much protein, I'm going to store it, or do something with it. And what happens is it changes it into glucose, which gets stored as fat. But it also, glucose in the blood feeds what? Yes, the cancer cells, or your tumor cells. And that's exactly what you don't want to happen. So it's not a good thing. So you can't have too much protein. It's not a high protein diet. You can do high protein on keto, but on therapeutic keto, which I'm doing, therapeutic for, it's a weird looking airplane. It's like some kind of Air Force airplane. Anyway, therapeutic ketosis is what it's called. It's for medicinal purposes, you know, for people that have like ailments going on. What you want to do is slow down everything and let the body use that fat. One thing I found in the beginning, not in the beginning, like a month into this or so, see, that was March, and we did April, and now we're in May, right? So I haven't been doing this too long, but like a month into it, yeah, I was looking at my GKI level, which is your glucose ketone indicator level, and I was going, man, how come some days, it's weird, but some days I fall out of ketosis, I get like 3.2, or a couple days, 2 days, I got like 4, which to me is like, you know, let's cry. Because you're trying so hard. Well, I wasn't trying, I was doing it, you know, as hard as I could, but I was doing it wrong. What I found out is no matter, you know, you don't want to pop over your protein level, but if you're under your fat level, you're always going to go out of ketosis. And why is that? Because this body needs that fat in it to generate ketones. I mean, sometimes I would be like slurping up a little bit of pork or whatever it was with a spoonful of lard, you know. And you might think that tastes like gross, but if you put like seasonings in it and stuff, it really doesn't taste that bad. And it's very, very satisfying to the body. The body, when it gets that, it's going, you know, just turns on you. I don't know how many times I've texted Rachel, my daughter, and saying, man, because she lives with me, she's close to me, so she knows a lot of these things. I go, man, Rachel, you know, I'm falling out of ketosis. I really gotta, you know, do that fat. Today I'm making like 4 slices of bacon, along with some Italian sausages, with 2 giant-sized tablespoons of lard, And I mean, when you get that, you have to eat it in a bowl with a spoon because it's just like almost a soup. You know, you got all these little pieces of meat on the top, and then underneath, it's like, pure fat floating around in there. And that's what I do. I take a spoon and just scoop that up. But this may be saving my life, so I have to get used to this kind of food. So I want to tell you it's worth it. You may find a different way to do it. Since then, I found this triple cream President's brie cheese at Costco for like $6.39 or whatever. And I bought like a few of them because, sometimes at Costco they like take things out of circulation. But this thing has like 11 grams of fat for 4 grams of protein, which is nice because you don't blow through your protein level and you can eat quite a few pieces and have a lot of fat. You can have like 60, 70 grams of fat going on there, which is good, right? And then the other thing that like really helps me in my day is my keto coffee, I call it, or I don't know, we could call it Dave's Keto Coffee. I'm sure there is a Keto Dave. He's like excellent. You got to find him on Twitter. He's got so much information, and he does talks as well. But he has so much information to share. But I already described it before on this live. Is that you have 6 tablespoons full of heavy whipping cream, which has 0 grams of carbs and just like fat out the wazoo. And then 2 tablespoons full of MCT oil, which is also heavy and super off the charts in fats. And when you put those together with some coffee and then a little bit of cinnamon, it tastes really good, and also just loads you up with like 300 grams of fat, which is awesome. Now, I have done like as much research as I possibly can on. Let me just look at the video here. It looks like I'm getting to the point where I need to move the chair back a little bit. Let me do that right now since we stopped. Sorry about this. You guys can look at the sand in the ocean. There we go. Yes. Nice boat going out there. It's just a beautiful day. Look at this. I love Naples. I've lived here for about 30 years. So yeah. So this, sometimes I'll look at my app that I use to track everything and see that I'm down on fat, and I'll make me one of those keto coffees, and it's just like, oh, even with decaf, I mean, the coffee doesn't come through too much. It's all the other stuff, but then the coffee adds a little flavor to it. So, you get to where you like the taste of these things. One thing it's hard to get used to is if you start doing a lot of pork stuff, is that smell of the pork rendering or the fats coming off the pork, that can be a little strong, but you get used to it. It's like, it's being helpful to your body, and that's better, more than anything, that's the best. So, and pork's probably the highest you'll find in fat. One thing I found like recently that really helped get fat in and is good and got me sort of back on my carnivore is ribeye steak, man. Ribeye is just lined with so much fat in it and tastes so good, and it's so tender. I cooked it the other day in 4 tablespoons of butter, and this thing is already fat off the wazoo, right? It's like fat, fat, fat. But it was so good because if you cook a steak in butter, there's that flavor, and especially when the steak starts browning a little bit. Oh my gosh, it's nothing like that. That, and then you put like a little bit of salt or something on the steak, and man, I could go way off my protein on that one. I'm telling you, it's just so satisfying and so good. But you need to be eating these kind of foods because they're so natural for your body. That's why your body loves them so much. And you'll find that everything starts changing in your body. I mean, things got better on my skin. I started feeling better, sleeping better. I know it sounds like a miracle thing, but it isn't really. It's just the way we should be eating anyway, instead of all this processed stuff. So on Marsha's website, she said what you need to do is start measuring things. And I go, you know what? No matter what it takes, because this is life or death for me. Could be. I didn't know I had cancer at that time. I knew I had a tumor. The first prognosis, what do you call it? They came back, said it was non-cancerous, but my gastro guy didn't believe that. He said, no, no, I want you to go up to Moffitt Cancer Center and have them do some studies on you. So I went up there, and sure enough, I mean, you kind of feel like, if they're looking for it, they're going to find it type of thing. Because they say that everybody has cancer cells, but this was off the charts as far as the markers for, as they tell you up there. They don't really say you have cancer. They say you have what is consistent with gallbladder cancer. They don't say you have gallbladder cancer, David. They go, Dave, you have what's consistent. Okay? So I have what's consistent with that. Anyway, Martha, or I hope that's her name. If not, I'll tell you in the description below too. I'll give you her link to her website. But she says the first thing you need to do is start measuring your foods. Stay within your limits, and log everything that you put in your mouth in an app called Chronometer. And I know I didn't debate, but I added a comment to this bodybuilder's Twitter post this morning. He was saying, why do you need apps for this and that? We don't need apps for all this stuff, because for him it's different. He is doing a low carb diet and high fat diet, but it's for bodybuilding, putting on muscle. It's like totally different than what you're going to need for therapeutic ketosis. So you need to be getting the Chronometer app. It's totally free. I have the paid version because it allows you to separate the stuff that you eat into different times of the day, as far as like breakfast, dinner, snacks, or whatever. And also there's some other benefits too. I'm also in the beta program, which helps as well when I see some gumming up the works. I can give my 2 cents about it, since I do have a little techie background. But this thing just like changed everything in my life. I found out that 3 ounces is probably as much protein as I can eat a day, depending on what the meat is. If it's like chicken, that'll do it. Pork, super high in protein. Meat, the same way, right? Other things, not so much. Chicken hearts are not very high in protein. You can eat like a lot of those and be chewing on stuff, and have your oils with it. Chicken hearts are really good. What else was really cool for me with the Chronometer? Oh yeah, you can immediately see just by the foods that you eat how much minerals and vitamins you're getting in your body too, because this thing is very specific. They go through every food, and I swear, I was telling my son, who is a little overweight, well, okay, a lot overweight, and was in the hospital not too long ago over some anxiety attack he had, I think on the count of his abuse of different things and also food, that I bet if you scan, and because it uses a barcode, which is really cool, off the product, you could scan a box of Twinkies, I bet, and it would have the nutritional content for Twinkies in there. I mean, it just has everything. All my vitamins that I take that have a barcode on the side of the vitamin, I mean, everything. If it's like a grocery store vitamin that's, has a barcode, and it's like sort of a, not name brand, but sort of a well-known grocery chain, like Winn-Dixie or something like that, it's gonna have that in there, and it'll say the potency and everything. It's just super great. So what I did is I went down to the vitamin store or vitamin shop, or whatever it's called here, and got me what I needed, what was missing, and especially the men's, daily vitamin that has, for me, as much stuff as this has in it, you're expecting like you have to eat like a handful of these things, but no, it's like one vitamin pill has a ton of nutrients in it. Now, my big thing is, are these things really that bioavailable? And I'm not sure, but something's got to be in there that's bioavailable. At least I don't see that I'm peeing it out. Someone said, I read like a couple days ago, you don't need to take vitamin C when you're in therapeutic ketosis or even in ketosis because you're not eating any sugars. And C, you take mainly to break down sugars in your body. So I'm learning something new every day. So that is a way of measuring what I eat, right? And then you have to get like a kitchen scale. Now, I saw these things in, where was I the other day? Oh, I was in, was it Walmart? I mean, a store that you wouldn't think would be selling kitchen scales that much. I guess it was Walmart. They were selling like, they had like a $14 kitchen scale. It was like, look, it was name brand. I think maybe even Cuisinart, and it was like super accurate. You need something like that. It gets down to the ounces and grams so you can count. It's very important to count. It's very important to count how many tablespoons of heavy whipping cream I'm putting into that coffee every day, because each one of those tablespoons is X amount of grams of fat, and I need to know my fat content per day. It may seem a teeny bit extreme. It's not. I'm not on that chronometer all the time, but when I am on there, it's like, it's very beneficial. I can see at a glance where I'm at. Now, the beauty of it is that other things also work in with chronometer. I have my Fitbit hooked up to chronometer, so chronometer will automatically take my sleep time, put it on here. It takes how much energy I'm expending, because you know how Fitbit will say, and I don't know how much accuracy, but at least it's marking something down, that if you're like moving around, it knows, right? It uses those whatever gizmos they use in these iPhones and these kind of smart devices that tracks movement, right? And it tells the Fitbit that, okay, this guy moving this much must be expending this much calories, this much calories, and he's going to need this much kcals. I guess I call it um, energy measurements to give him that back. In other words, he's burned this much. Here's how much he needs to cover that. So all the time, Fitbit's talking to chronometer. Chronometer's talking. I'm not sure if chronometer talks. Yes, it does, because I've noticed in my Fitbit app, it talks to the app anyway, that it'll show all the foods that I've put in there, and all the vitamins and stuff, which is kind of cool. So, you can look at one or the other, but I like chronometer because everything's there at a glance. It has these like little wheels, like it'll say, this is how many calories you burn, this is how many calories, food, energy that you've ingested or that you've taken in so far, plus the fat, and this is how much your deficit is. In other words, you still have to eat or take in, either in protein or fat, this much in order to cover what you've burned for the day. So it's very beneficial. You get like during the end of the day. It's funny because at 8 p.m. I'll look at it and go, oh man, I'm equal now. I don't have to eat any more of my fat because I've already covered all the calories that I burn. I try to do 100% of my fat every day anyway, which I think is almost like 300 grams of fat. But some days that thing will be at 207, right? Because that's all I've moved that day. And then by 9 p.m. I'll look at it again. I guess it's updated. And now I'm like deficient by 100 grams of fat. So I'll make one of these decaf keto things and drink that. That'll usually put me over in fat, but at least I know that next morning I'm going to be in ketosis. Now, as I said before, what I have researched and have not found is the relationship between dairy products, as far as cheeses and this heavy whipping cream, and cancer. I know that you can find, there are a couple of studies out there, but they're not, I haven't found anything binding like this. Yes, this is what we found. Or maybe there is like one study, but there's not more than one. It's not like people are saying you really gotta look into this, because this is something that's, it's harming you big time. I've asked other people that are in therapeutic ketosis. They eat cheese in moderation. So I'm not eating my cheese like every single day. I do eat it in moderation, and it's enjoyable with that cup of, I know it sounds like off the charts fat, but it's so good to have my brie with my cup of cinnamon cappuccino type thing. And it's, you got to make it enjoyable. The thing I miss probably most of all is crunchy something. So I have several recipes of crunchy things that I want to make. But one thing that I tried, and I just really couldn't get into too much because sometimes if you're hungry enough, they're okay. But nobody makes these very well, it seems like. I have not found a provider that has put the effort into the seasonings for these chimoronis, like the pig rinds. But I found pork rinds. I found them at a store. If you buy pork rinds from the store, from somebody locally that's made them, and all they have on them is salt, those are the best ones. These ones you find produced in a bag that have maltodextrin in it and also coloring or some crazy thing like that. I tried some yesterday that said flaming hot barbecue or something like that, and they had there's no heat in it at all. The only thing I saw in there was some crappy food coloring, so I threw them in the trash. Thankfully, they're cheap. So I did buy a few bags of them just to experiment, but it's horrifying. But I miss that crunch, they are very, very crunchy. And someone said, and I just want to make sure I'm good on time here, I don't want to go over for you guys, that what you can do and what makes a very crunchy chip is taking this is crazy, but you'll love me for it, thinly sliced chicken or thinly sliced ham or thinly sliced whatever meat you're using, and dehydrate it in your oven at 150 for like 5 hours. And these pieces will go smaller, and they'll, all the moisture will be gone out of them, and they'll turn into a chip, which you can like crunch or dip or do whatever you want to. So I'm going to try that one of these here days, go to the deli and ask them to do super thin. I don't have a deli machine, or I'd do it myself. But that sounds like a great idea. The only thing is, a lot of ovens will not go down to 150. So Rachel says we should get a dehydrating machine, but I don't know. Some of those are like super expensive too, but they're very good. A lot of people do fruits and vegetables in them, but they will also do meats. Like people make beef jerky and that kind of thing in these dehydrators, and it's great. So that's it for today. Tomorrow I have the afternoon procedure going on. I will update you after that. And then on Tuesday, I have my first meeting with my oncologist at 12:30, probably 1 o'clock, because they want you to get in there and do a ton of paperwork. And I will let you know about that as well, okay? And then for the rest of the week, I have nothing. For the rest of the month, I have nothing, unless the oncologist wants some tests done, which I'm pretty sure he will, because these guys kind of work independently and they want their own thing done, which wouldn't you, right? So let me see where we are on time. It says 58:45. We can go for a couple more minutes. You guys want to see the ocean again? It's beautiful. The waves are kind of kicking up because the wind is kicking up. There's a person on a kayak down there. It actually looks like a stand-up paddleboard that they're sitting on. Because if you're not really good on these stand-up paddleboards, waves like this will knock you over. Our pier is miles down that way, you can't see it. The nice thing about having a little breeze out here is we call them Florida no-see-ums. They are little bugs that like land on you, like they're so hard to, that's why they call them no-see-ums, you can't really see them. But you'll see like a little black speck on you, and man, for a little black speck, they bite the tarnation out of you. But I don't think it's that. I think that they like try to get blood out of you, and they inject you, sort of like a mosquito does, and like put some little like poison in you. I'm not sure why a bug would do that. If I were a bug, I would be like a vampire bat that would come. And the way vampires work is they cool down the skin. We over our time? Yes, we are. And they make it so you don't even feel it. So that's what I want tomorrow when I get the procedure done. I don't even want to feel it, guys. Just let it happen. All right. Hey, thanks for being with me today. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope it brought you some kind of useful information in your quest with cancer and with therapeutic ketosis. And now I have to figure out how to turn this thing off. There's an X up here, so I'm going to try that. Take care. Love you. See you tomorrow.